What's up everybody and welcome to a new video, and in this video we continue to go over my notes for the Jupyter extension. And in this video we're going to cover the extension pack. And here the first note is about the Jupyter Keymap, and what that does is it provides the keyboard shortcuts to match the key bindings from Jupyter notebooks. However, it doesn't include all of the key bindings. And if you want to see a list of the available key bindings, then you can do that via the keyboard shortcuts editor. And you can open that via the command palette, via this command here, open keyboard shortcuts editor. And here, if you search for Jupyter Keymap, then you can see all the available keyboard shortcuts. So here then I have a list of the commands that I found most useful. So for example here, with S you can save the file. With C you can copy a cell, and then with V you can paste it. With X you can cut a cell, and then with C you can undo this again. So if I undo this, then I get here the cell again. Then with A you can insert a cell above, and with B insert a cell below. So here if I press A, then I insert a cell above, and if I press B, then I can insert a cell below. Then with L you can toggle the line numbers. So if I go to this cell here and then press L, I can toggle the line numbers. And if you press Shift L, then you can toggle the line numbers for all the cells in the notebook. And then here with Shift Enter, you can execute the cell and then focus the next cell. So if I press here Shift Enter, then I execute the cell and then focus the next cell in command mode. And here if I press Control Enter, then you can execute the cell and focus the current cell. So if I press Control Enter, then I execute the cell and stay on the cell in command mode. And then here with Control Alt Enter, you can execute the cell and focus the current cell, and then here you stay in whatever mode you were in. So for example, if I go here into edit mode and then press Control Alt and Enter, then I execute the cell but also stay in this edit mode. Okay, so those are some of the commands that I found most useful. And here I also have a side note, namely there are two other sources for keyboard shortcuts. And they are the system and the Jupyter extension. So to see the shortcuts for the system, go here to the shortcuts editor and then search for system. And then here in this command column, only look for commands that start with notebook. So those commands here. And here some of the most useful commands in my opinion are as follows. Enter and escape. So with that you can enter and exit edit mode. So for example, if I go here to the cell and then press enter, I can enter edit mode, so I can go into the cell, and then with escape I can exit edit mode, so go out of the cell and then into command mode. Then here you have Y and M. So with M you can transform a cell into a markdown cell, and with Y you can transform it into a code cell. Then here with Control pound symbol you can comment out the selected cell. So if I press here Control pound symbol, then I can comment that out. And this also works for when you have multiple cells selected. So for example, if I select this cell here and now press Control pound symbol, I can comment out both of these cells. Then next we have Shift plus up arrow and down arrow key. So with that you can expand the selection of cells. So for example, if I select this cell and then hold Shift and down arrow key, I can select those cells here. And those cells don't have to be consecutive. Namely, if I now press the down arrow key, I can move to the next cell, and now if I hold Shift and down arrow, then I can also select this cell here. Okay, so the next is Alt plus down arrow and up arrow key. So with that you can move cells around. So if I hold your Alt and then up arrow key and down arrow key, you can move that up and down. And then lastly, with left arrow key and right arrow key, you can fold and unfold markdown headings. So let's create here a markdown heading. And then let's copy this. And now if I use the left arrow key, I can fold everything inside that heading. And with the right arrow key, I can again unfold it. So those are some of the useful commands for the system. And then here, the next source is Jupyter Extension. So therefore, simply go here to the shortcuts editor and then search for Jupyter. So this way then you can see all the respective shortcuts. In my opinion, however, they are somewhat inconvenient and not really useful. So that is the side note, and with that now we've covered all the notes that I wanted to cover with respect to the Jupyter Keymap. So the next note is about Jupyter cell tags, and you can use them, for example, for organization and documentation. Namely, cell tags provide additional context or information. So for example, you could specify what function or purpose a specific cell has. So to show an example for that, I've prepared here some code. And now to create a cell tag for the cell here, go to the overflow menu of the cell toolbar, and then here you can add a cell tag. So let's call this simply helper functions. And then here this tag is added. However, in my opinion, markdown headings are probably better suited for this purpose here. So that's the first purpose, but you can also use cell tags for workflow automation. So for example, with tools like Papermill, MB-Convert or MB-Grader. Okay, so that's the purpose of cell tags. Now how to create them. So you can do it via the overflow menu of the cell toolbar, which we have just seen here. And here there are also two additional options. You can edit the cell tags in the respective JSON file. Or this third option that you have here is simply to mark a cell as parameters. So this creates this parameters cell tag. And then you can also create cell tags via the status bar after the first tag is already created. So for example, then here, click this plus button, and then you can add another cell tag. So let's call this test. And to delete them, you can then simply click here, this X. Okay, so this is how you can create them. And then here the side note is about the cell tags view, and this is available in the panel, namely here in this Jupyter view on this right side. So you can toggle this on or off with this arrow here. And what it does is it simply lists all the cell tags of the currently active cell. So for this cell, we have here the helper function cell tag, and in this cell, we have the parameters cell tag. Okay, so with that, we've covered the side note, and with that now we've already covered all the nodes that I wanted to cover with respect to cell tags. So now let's go over the nodes for the Jupyter slideshow. Namely, the purpose of that is to create a slideshow out of a Jupyter notebook. And the slideshow here is based on the reveal.js framework. And then here the next node is about how to set up slides, create a slideshow file, and then present the slideshow. And here let's first actually look at how to present the slideshow so that we can see what the final result actually looks like. So here I have prepared the slide. So here in the bottom right corner with these arrows, you can navigate the slideshow, and you can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard. And then the different types of slides that are available are here this basic slide. Then you can have a slide with sub-slides. So here if you then press this down arrow, you can get to the sub-slide. Then you can have a slide with fragments. So with that you can partially reveal that slide, one click at a time. And then lastly, you can also have a slide with notes. And to see the notes, press S, and this then opens the speaker view. So here are then the notes. And if you want to see all the keyboard shortcuts, press the question mark. So here's then a list of the shortcuts, and some of the useful ones are, for example, here, as I just said, the speaker view. Then here you can, with F, you can toggle full screen, and with O or escape, you can toggle the slide overview. So to see that, let's press O. So this is what then the overview looks like. So let's toggle this off. So this is what such a slideshow looks like. So now to show how to set up slides, I have prepared here this file in the Jupyter folder, which is called slideshow before. So let's copy this into the root of our workspace. And then let's put it over here. And then here now, to create a slide, simply go here to the overflow menu of the cell toolbar. And then here you have the option to switch slide type. So here you can then choose which slide type you want. So let's select this one. And then here on the status bar, it shows which slide type this cell is. And if you click that, then you can change the slide type or delete it again. Okay, so now let's see how we can create this slideshow that we've seen before. Therefore, let's put it here on the left side. And then let's put the editor here on the right side. And then let's put this file here and close the sidebar. Okay, so now the first slide is simply this basic slide, and it contains those first three cells here. So let's make this slide here simply as the cell here a slide. Then here this next sub slide, this we also gonna mark as a simple slide. And then the sub slide is here the demonstration of the while loop. So those two cells here. So therefore we simply make this cell here into a sub slide. Then next we have slides with fragments. So here again we make this markdown heading here simply a slide. And then here the first fragment is this cell and this cell. So let's make this here then a fragment. So switch slides, slide type into a fragment. And then the next fragment is then here this while loop. So let's again make this here into a fragment. Then here is a slide to be skipped. So here we simply use the slide type skip. So this then skips this area here. And then lastly we have a slide with nodes. So again we make this first here, this heading a simple slide. And then the nodes are these here. So let's make them into the nodes. Okay, so now we've prepared here this slideshow. So now let's make our editor bigger again and open here this the sidebar. And now how you can transform this slideshow into the slideshow file is by running this command here in the terminal. So let's open the terminal in the panel, and then let's run here our command and then specify our file type. So the file that we want to transform is this slideshow after file. And now if we run this command, then we can create the slideshow, and you can then see here that it creates an HTML file. So let's wait for that. So here's the HTML file. So now if I go here to the folder and then open this slideshow and again make this here bigger. So now then here is the final result of that slideshow, where we have the slide with the subsides, the slide with the fragments, then here our slides with the nodes. That's where we open the speaker view, and then here have our nodes, and then also the slide that we skipped. Okay, so this is how you can set up the slides, create the slideshow file, and then also present the slideshow. So with that now, we've covered all the points that I wanted to cover with respect to the extension pack. So with this then, we've reached the end of the series so far. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you in one of my next videos.